Hiking and its psychological benefits. Nature is all around us, but a lot of people don't interact with nature on a daily basis. Hiking through nature is a rare event for many people, considering how busy our world is. But do we need nature more because of how busy our life is? I brought this topic to Colleen Fitzgerald, a skilled counselor and therapist who has taken classes on nature therapy.
I think that the pace of nature and the slowness of change of what happens in natural settings, not impacted by humans coming through and doing things, that slowness and that sort of methodical, slow pace of change is really a great way to offset the stress of a fast-paced modern life. You know, noticing how slowly trees grow and how slowly the seasons move through, noticing change over time is a great way to offset the intensity of our day-to-day lives in the DC region especially. So everybody could benefit from that.
But in our already busy lives, we don't have much time for hiking. How long do we need to spend doing it in order to see results?
I think for a person, it should be a pleasure. It should be something that they enjoy doing and not another thing on their to-do list. So whatever the right amount of time is that makes it feel like something that gives them joy, that makes their world bigger, not smaller, that's the right amount of time for them.
If nature is so calming, can it help those suffering from anxiety or depression disorders?
There's a whole kind of approach called nature therapy, believe it or not, where people are sort of almost prescribed the idea of spending time in nature as a way to cope with anxiety and depression symptoms. So, as I mentioned before, that idea of the pace of nature and the idea that things move slowly and you're more attuned to that slow pace when you're in nature, that could certainly help with anxiety when you're in that sense of worry about the future, and being in nature reminding you to stay in the present. That would be one way that things really benefit you. And with depression, I love the idea of, especially as the spring comes, plants growing, hope coming alive again could be really helpful for someone dealing with that hopelessness part of depression. The idea that the world is about to begin again, and so change can happen for people.
Even if you don't have a mental illness, walking in nature can help you. In a study by the University of Derby, people were asked to rate their health before and after taking a walk in nature. The number of people reporting their health as excellent increased by 30%. Why is nature so beneficial?
I don't know. I'm very honest to say that, I know what I don't know, and we don't know exactly why. It just, that idea that we come from nature, we come from that world, and we feel separated from it much of our lives, but then when you return to it, maybe you're returning to something basic about yourself. And there's also this kind of growing movement around earthing. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but a friend of ours does it. And the idea is that if you spend time with your feet actually touching the earth, right? Whether it's on a beach, whether it's walking in nature, or just in your yard with your feet in the grass, there is something about kind of the energy coming up from the earth, the prana in the yoga world, that's being absorbed in your body that makes you feel better physically and emotionally.
Nature clearly helps with the stress aspect of mental health. What about self-esteem?
I think I feel better about myself when I'm more out in the world, because even when you're by yourself in nature, there's no one to compare yourself to. So there's this whole sense of you are enough as you are when you're out in the world, because you're not saying, oh, I'm not good enough at this, or I don't look like her, or I'm not as whatever as him. You're just enough when you're out there. So I think that would certainly help. I certainly have felt better about myself after being out in the world with less comparison.
Considering all of these benefits provided by nature, is nature fundamentally important to our happiness?
I would say that's true. I think there's a growing kind of sense that people who feel disconnected from the natural world have a lower quality of life, that they don't feel like they are part of the world in the same way as if you are watching things change around you and being part of the seasons and the movement of things.
Nature is all around us, even when we aren't looking for it. But given how important it is, shouldn't we all be looking for it more?